Hi, everyone. This is once again Jeanith Padilla, your friend. And today we have a very special guest, and we're going to talk about a very special topic, of course, and that is give up or get up. Before we begin this, and before I bring to you a special guest for today's talk, I just want to share because this is so timely. Last night, in our devotional, every night me and my kids would gather and would share our devotionals for the day. Last night, my son's devotional is based on John 16:33. And it says, which is also my favorite Bible verse. Um, it says, take heart because I have overcome the world. In this world, you will have trouble, Jesus said. But take heart because I have overcome the world. And, he is only 10, and I have to explain that to him, which I really love. I love teaching my kids stuff like that. And I told them the story about this patient. Had this 10-year-old patient, and he was the only child of his mom. And at that time, he was dying, and I was the one doing a certain procedure to him. And they were making already a decision to either withdraw the treatment, and remove the life support. And of course, the mom was just crying and devastated and didn't even want to make a decision. And then I was just there, and I was like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna say? Um, I'm what I'm thinking was I was not just there to do that treatment, but there is a purpose. There was a purpose for me to be there. And this verse came out of my mouth, and that was the verse in John 16:33, that in this world we will have trouble, because she was already like, you know, she was just already questioning God, why God is letting it happen to her and to her kid. And as she was telling this story, that the past year her mom just died, and then now she's facing this terrible event that her child is dying. So I told her, like, remember the Bible verse um that says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart because I have overcome the world. So and then I saw the light in her face, despite of crying. I told her, like, we were not promised a good life, a comfortable life. We're not promised that we're gonna live a perfect life in this world. That's why this is not yet heaven. This world is broken. But if we cling to God, if we cling to Jesus, if we have Him, then we don't have to worry about anything, because it's not going to be us who's going to face this alone, all by ourselves. He will give us strength, He will comfort us, and He will never leave us nor forsake us. And so I was just sharing that to my kids, and I even, was talking a lot. I mean, like, I even told him, like, if something will happen to mom, you don't worry. If there is anything terrible, terrifying that's gonna happen, you don't worry about it, but have peace because Jesus is with you. Jesus will never leave you, and it's gonna be okay. And yeah, I mean, sometimes we would question God, why things are happening, and why we are facing these terrible things in the world. Death, what else? Fire, murder, rape, abuse, and all that's crazy stuff. And then we ask God. We ask God. But that's what I'm saying. God is not interested of our comfort, but He is more interested in our growth, because this earth is just a school, a preparation for the life that we will have with Him in heaven, in eternity. So Yeah, that's just a little intro. And my friend here will talk about it more, and he's going to share his life experiences. He's very rich in knowledge and wisdom. So I'm just so excited to introduce a friend here today. Yup. So our guest for tonight, or this afternoon, or this morning, wherever in the world you are, okay, is a fellow John Maxwell certified team. I haven't met him yet, but we are in the same group and he's always saying hi, hello to everybody. So here we go. And of course, we have a lot of, we have one common friend and that we are really close to is also a member of the team. But yeah, as you may know, his name is Dr. Rich Rader. He is a seasoned Maxwell Leadership Certified Coach, influential leader or speaker, and adept trainer. He has over 40 years in corporate world, 30 years in ministry, in more than 2 decades in higher education. Dr. Rich brings a unique leadership perspective, a proud 4-time graduate of Ashland University. He hails from Ontario, not Canada, Ontario, Ohio, USA. Yeah, he was in school for so long. I was like, wow, did you spend most of your life or most of your years at school? And we were just laughing at that. It's so good. So, as an ordained minister, Dr. Rich integrates values based servant leadership into his coaching, speaking, and training, offering a holistic approach to personal and professional growth, perfect for all audiences of varying backgrounds. He is passionate about creating powerful, positive change. He is also a social entrepreneur dedicated to making a meaningful community impact. His extensive experience makes him a versatile and influential guide for individuals and organizations seeking success. In a world seeking transformative leaders, his blend of wisdom, integrity, empowerment, and humor makes him a beacon of inspiration in the realm of leadership. And without further ado, let us welcome Dr. Rich Rader. Hello, sir. Yay! Here
Hello,
you
Jeanith.
are.
Here I am. It's good to see you. Thank you for that introduction and for a chance to have this conversation today. I've been excited for it for some time.
Of course, we've planned this for like last year,
We
but
did.
yes, and I'm so grateful you reached out again and yeah, that just, giving your time. This is so much valuable and I highly appreciate you. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about what you shared at the beginning is so perfect because you're absolutely right. I saw a quote this week that came across my desk that said, "Growth will often be painful
Yes.
because it is putting aside who we used to be, and that can be a painful journey." So, yeah, we have a lot of good things to talk about, but I'm excited to be here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead and tell everyone what you're here for. The platform is yours.
Yeah, no, it's great. We have known each other for a little bit through the Maxwell Leadership Program. I respect some of the folks that you have had on your show. And really the truth of the matter is the reason we've waited to do this for a little bit is because I was in a situation that I couldn't do it. I went through some challenges last year, and as a result, some of those things were quite painful, and I didn't care for it a whole lot. But I was able to experience what sorts of things, what sorts of growth, things that I've been able to learn as God has taught me through a difficult situation. So, um, I have, first of all, to answer your question, I have not spent my entire life in school. Just, just so you know, it just seems
Kidding?
like it. You know, and it's interesting because I tell people all the time that when it comes to my life, I've always done multiple things. I've always had things, whether it's in the corporate world or whether it's in ministry or whether it's teaching at the college level, they've always happened simultaneously. And so I don't know if you've ever been in one of those rooms where you have all these new people and somebody will say to you, "Hey, go around the room and let's tell everybody our name and what you do." Well, I hate that
Why?
because there's so many things, there's always multiple things that I have always done.
Yeah.
And I always felt like that was such a, I don't know, just a question that was difficult to answer. So I made up an answer years ago and I said, my name's Rich and I love people. That's
Oh,
my whole goal. You know, if it's in the business world, I'm loving you while I'm doing whatever business I'm doing with you. If it's in the classroom, I'm loving you while I'm in front of your class. If it's one of those situations where part of my ministry was as a police and fire chaplain, I was probably the one that got called to be with you on your worst day. Somebody died, somebody had a
mhm.
tragic accident. So I'm going to love you while I hold your hand and try to make it okay. But it all goes back to the same goal. I want to love you where you are and be able to let you know how valuable you are to me and to God and to the rest of the world.
That's amazing because what is selling is you're clear of your purpose.
Mhm.
And Jesus is calling us to follow his footsteps. And when he was here, all he did was just loving people.
Mhm.
And that's what he's calling us to do. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I would
and
like to copy that.
it's interesting because, of course, yesterday was Easter. If you're watching
Yes.
this actually on the 21st, yesterday was Easter. And yesterday was also the 20th anniversary of my ordination. And so it was a very special weekend for me. And the thing that the pastor said at the church that I attended yesterday was the message of Easter is not about the cross. It's not about following some sort of a religious pattern. It's the message of Jesus as a person, who he was, who he is, and how can we be like that? Um,
Wow.
it was a very powerful statement. He said the cross either has no importance or complete importance. There's no halfway. There's no halfway. He said it's kind of like a lady, and I know nothing about this. Let's just be clear. I'm a
Hmm.
man, so I don't get
Hmm.
this. But he said
Hmm.
it's like you'll never find a woman who's kind of pregnant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're either pregnant or you're
Or
not.
you're not. That's
You,
true.
you either have value in the cross or you don't. You can't go halfway. And the message of Jesus is where that is. And you're right. It's the message of love and unconditional love. And when you get a chance to experience that, there's nothing like it. Absolutely nothing.
It changes your life.
It does.
It's profound, significant. And yeah, I mean, that's what we are here for. I think that's all that we have to do to love. And you know what? This topic is always like what we talk about with my kids. Like, we're here to love. And I know it's hard to love. It's not easy to love, especially people are annoying.
Sure. I resemble that remark sometimes. I can be annoying. I sometimes say I have the spiritual gift of messing up. I'm good at messing things up
Oh, me
sometimes.
too. That's why I can't judge anybody because I will always say, if they're telling something to others, I will say, me too. I'm like
Yeah.
that.
And sometimes what's interesting is sometimes being loved can make people uncomfortable because we get so kind of inoculated with the idea that people don't care about us, people don't value us, people don't see us. It doesn't matter. Like we have that concept. And then when somebody comes in and genuinely, unconditionally loves us, it makes us kind of think, what is that? Why
Uncomfortable.
are you doing that? And yet when you experience it and it's genuine, it's real, it's authentic, holy cow, it's amazing to experience that.
It's amazing. And that, my friend, I'm so thankful for you for sharing that, that message. Like, wow, love is a big word. Love is not easy. And I think for sure that we can only experience and share love, and we can only love others if, through the Holy Spirit.
Sure.
If it's our own will or just on our own strength and ability, no way.
Yeah. Well, and scripture's clear about that. We love because he first loved us. Because
Yes.
God loves us. That's the only type of love I have to offer. If it's rich and I'm loving in my own power and my own strength, I will do it poorly. I will do it poorly.
That's true. And, like, oh, when it comes to our topic for today about not giving up, I think love is the source of not giving up. I mean, if there's any reason for us not to give up, it's love.
Yeah.
Love for others,
Yeah.
love
Well,
for ourselves, love for God.
and that's so true. When I say it this way as kind of a broad brush stroke, that if we decide to give up, we have lost sight of anything beyond ourselves. When we choose to not give up and we choose to get up, we realize that there are lives yet to be impacted outside of us. Now, we're both fans and friends and mentors and all those things of John Maxwell, right? One of
Yes.
my favorite things that has ever come out of John's mouth, and I don't know if it's original to him or if he got it somewhere else, but we hear all of us say it, that with one small exception, the world is full of other people.
Mm,
And of course, that one small exception is me. Or
yeah.
in your life, it's that one small exception is you. But when we realize that the world, except for our little part, the world is filled with other people, it gives us that perspective to say that everyone else matters. Everyone else has value.
That's true. That's why the moment we realize that this is not all about us is the moment we get out there and serve others. And when we realize it's not all about us, then we experience real joy.
Yes.
Because when we think only about ourselves, we'll only think about what we don't have, what we lack. Oh, you will drown in depression if it's only about you.
Right.
That's what I realized. Because yeah, in the past I was like that. It was all about me until like no. So
Again,
like
a mantra that I have that's on most of my social medias, and again, I don't know where it came from. I heard somebody say it. I don't know. It's not mine original, but it's the phrase, if service is beyond you, or excuse me, if service is beneath you, leadership is beyond you. If you can't serve, if you can't understand the value in giving to others, you have no purpose in being a leader. You have no reason to try to influence people. And that's what John Maxwell describes leadership as. It's influence, nothing
it's
more, nothing less. And so when we have a chance to influence, in fact, that's why we say everyone can be a leader. It just, you have to decide, how are you going to be a leader, a good leader or a poor leader, because everybody can have influence. How will you influence, for the positive or for the negative?
That's true, 100%. And you don't even have, or you don't even need a title to be a leader. You can just be a leader on your own,
Sure.
influencing others to become better and to think bigger things than themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, you can think about that with Maxwell's 5 levels of leadership, not to go
Yes.
Maxwell corporate, but the title, the position is the very bottom of the
Mhm.
leadership framework.
True.
You have to deal with the personal side of it. You have to deal with the production side of it. You have to deal, you grow and you grow and you grow. we have a world that John would describe as him being leadership sad, because everybody thinks as soon as you get a title, then everybody should just be at your beck and call. And that's not how leadership works at all. It's all about
That's it.
service.
It's all about serving. It's all about giving. It's
Yep.
all about loving.
Mhm.
That's leadership.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I know we have audiences here listening to us right now, or maybe they'll just watch this on replay, interested about what they can do. Like, they are like stuck right now, don't know what to do. It's either they're just gonna, give in, give up, or they have to, fight a good fight.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
what's your take on that? Do you have any tips? Do you have anything, stories to share?
Absolutely. Do I have stories, Jeanith? Holy cow, I got lots of stories.
You
I
should
have a
have started
lifetime full of
on
stories. Um,
it.
the one that I have several that come to mind, but the first one that I think about is I've always been a basketball fan. Okay. I'm a
NBA?
big guy, 6'4". Um, my story at the Maxwell International Maxwell Conference is I'm always I have a disability, which we'll talk about here in a minute, but I'm usually on a mobility scooter to get around the big conference. And so
Mm,
everybody with Maxwell knows me as the big bald guy on the scooter. That's just how it is. But I remember back in 1983, I was just a kid, but the North Carolina State men's basketball program was a Cinderella team, and they went through and won the national championship. Unexpected, that nobody thought that they would be able to do that, but they just kept winning.
mm,
And that coach's name was Jim Valvano. And
mm.
Jim was extremely influential, great leader, very influencing with other great basketball coaches, Dean Smith, Mike Krzyzewski. I mean, just legendary coaches. And Jim got cancer young.
Mm.
And he was the first award recipient of the SB Courage Award. And
Wow.
at that moment, he launched what is now the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. And during his acceptance speech, he stood in front of that audience, global audience. He stood in front of that audience, and he said, "It's important for us to remember that every day we should live a full life, and we should live a life that is filled with love in such a way that every day I laugh, every day I cry, and every day I think." He says, if
Laugh,
you do that every day, he said,
cry,
that's a full day. Cry,
cry, laugh,
laugh, and think.
and think.
And at the end of that, he announced that he was starting this cancer research foundation. And I just, one of my colleagues, my friends, Don Yeager, who has the Corporate Competitor podcast, he just interviewed Mike Krzyzewski again, and Mike is
Mm.
on that board. And he said, at this point, after all these years, the Jimmy V Foundation has invested nearly $16 billion in various kinds of cancer research and labs. And Jimmy V's statement was, don't give up, don't ever give up. And so every time you see something from the V Foundation, it says, don't give up, don't ever give up. And that was one of those things when I went through what I went through last year. And I've been through a couple situations that I could have said, yeah, it's not worth it. I'm done trying. I'm ready to just take whatever comes, health wise, and that's fine. And I've had an amazing team of people, friends, professionals that have come alongside and said, we're not letting you give up, Rich. It's not
Mm.
going to happen. And really the last we'll say 13 years ago, a little over 13 years ago, I developed this diabetic related bone disease and ended up with braces on my legs, had a hard time walking too much, made progress through that, and was very happy, was just continuing to push forward. And then last fall happened. And I was traveling. I was actually down in Atlanta with John Maxwell and Bernice King for a special event at the King Center for Justice. And
Mm.
I came home with a bone infection in my foot.
Shoot.
And when we were originally talking about doing this
Yeah, I remember that.
conversation, I told you, I said, well, I can't do it right now because I'm in the hospital. And so for 4.5 months, I couldn't walk. I was in the hospital for 6 weeks. I had been traveling full time in a motorhome. I could no longer get in my motorhome. I had sold my house, so I had no place to live. And I
Wow.
called a friend who's been a friend since we were 5 years old. And I told him, I said, I love helping people. I hate asking for help for myself. I
For
struggle.
sure.
And my friend Keith said to me, he goes, I know that it's hard for you to ask. And he said, but there's, of all the people I have in my life, nobody has earned the right to ask more than you have. And he took me into his family and let me live with him for 3.5 months while I healed.
Wow. He's
And
amazing.
so my life stopped from the beginning of October to the end of February. And
That's a
here
long
we are.
time.
Yeah, it was.
Time.
And again, I had that decision to make. I had the decision to say to myself, is this it? Am I ready to just take what may come and be satisfied with that and give up? Or am I going to choose to be proactive and get back up? And that's when this particular talk came about. It was December 26th that I wrote this, that I put
Hmm.
all these thoughts together. And I'll tell you exactly why I remember it. Because as a police chaplain, I lost somebody my age killed in the line of duty on December 26, 2007. He was killed, shot and killed by his brother.
Wow.
And that had a profound impact on me. Well, this past December 26th, 2024, on the 17th anniversary, I talked to his widow for an hour on the phone
Mm.
and hung the phone up and wrote down my thoughts for what I'm sharing for you today. Brian Evans' influence, the influence of my medical team, the influence of the people who love me the most and who I love the most made me realize I'm not giving up. I'm going to get up because it's not about me. I have lots of other people that I have yet to impact. I mean, I'm 53. You know,
That's young.
you made it sound like I'm 125 since you talked all about the experience and you talked all about the education. And sometimes when I get up, I feel like I'm 125, but I have a lot of people yet to impact, and I get a chance to do that through platforms like this and through what I get to do through my leadership company and through the greater Maxwell Leadership Program.
Sure, sure. And wow, that's a great decision. If you were just too weak, you could have just, no, I'm done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is all because of love too, because that is your philosophy in life. You love people, so you can't give up on people.
Yep.
You can't just hide and be done with all of this and just, um, just think about yourself. So thank you. Thank you for your courage.
Thank you.
Thank you for your love. And yeah, I'm excited to hear that talk.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting you say that the whole give up idea because 6 weeks in the hospital is kind of a drag.
Mm.
Um, but I had another decision to make 3 days after I got out of the hospital because I moved in with Keith on Thursday. And Monday, the following Monday, and I know you referenced our mutual friend. I assume you're talking about Kelsey Elizabeth Matthews.
Yeah.
Um, Kelsey has been a dear friend of mine now for about 14 or 15 months. And I was talking to her on the phone that Monday after I got out of the hospital. And lo and behold, I had a medical emergency. I didn't know it was coming on, but I had kind of a diabetic shock where my glucose level went way too low. I live in Ohio. Kelsey lives in Connecticut. She had the wherewithal to make the contacts into Ohio to get me help.
Oh,
And
wow.
I woke up with three paramedics over me in Keith's home. Again, like I said, there have been people who have made a difference, and there is just no way that I would ever pay those folks back by saying, "Yeah, I'm not worth trying to keep going. I have too much influence yet to take." So I'm grateful for people like her and people like you and people like Keith and Cindy, those who made it possible for me not to give up.
So Kelsey made contact with 911 to get help for you.
Well, no, it was a little more roundabout than that. She got a hold of my wife, who got a hold of
Oh,
Keith. Well, got a hold of a secretary, got a hold of Keith, who got a hold of the squad,
wow.
and they got me back. Otherwise, I may not be here.
True. But yeah, you still have a purpose. You still have work to do.
I do.
Yeah, so no, God is not giving up on you, so there is no way you can give up too.
Yeah. Well, and part of the beauty of what God has given me, the thoughts that I have worked through for this particular talk is, we just lost Pope Francis today. He
True.
made his
I saw
public
that.
He made his last public appearance to those at the Vatican yesterday on Easter. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was beautiful. Um, but it reminds me that one of the most influential statements on my talk right now is when Mother Teresa says, "I can do things you can't. You can do things that I can't. Together we can do great things."
That's profound.
Yeah. So I
Uh,
don't think it's any mistake that even though we put this off a while, that we would do it on a day that there is such a movement in the Catholic faith because of the loss of their
Lead.
pope.
Yeah. I saw that today. But I did not know that he came out yesterday to see people. But wow, if he did that and he was so sick, like he did not make any excuses.
No, no, it was my understanding. I didn't see it directly, but it was my understanding that he was brought out on his balcony, and there was a statement read by one of his clergy, one of the cardinals, on his behalf. And I saw the video of him waving to those gathered in the Vatican. So, um, yeah, very, very profound and meaningful statement of how much he loved his people and how much he loved his faith.
Wow. Yeah. It hit me to my core, actually.
Hmm.
Like here we are, I mean, wow. It's just amazing or fascinating. So, yeah, I mean, our purpose is to serve others, just like what you've said. I can do things you can't. You can do things I can. And together we can do great things.
Yeah. I love referring to that as God's economy. I had a mentor who called that God's economy. When you think the Greek word oikonomia or economia is what it kind of sounds like, but it's the idea that God has this amazing ability to make sure that nobody can do everything. I need you, you need me. And if we don't utilize each other's gifts, we'll never accomplish what God desires for us to accomplish.
Yeah. It's in the Bible. He called it like we are his body.
Mm-hmm.
Like each one has a purpose, a certain function to contribute. That's why, like, in the past, I always find it so hard to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can relate to that too. I
Mm-hmm.
always want to help, but I don't want to ask for help because I think it would be, like a tremendous favor for others. I mean, to give to me. And I don't want to bother anyone. But you see, like, God doesn't want us to be full of pride and to be boastful. I think that's one of his, he hates pride.
Yeah,
He
it's kind of,
hates
we were talking
pride.
about being annoying before. That's kind of annoying, don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah,
That's
I'd be
true.
okay if I could be a little prideful, but no, I get what you're saying. Get what you're saying. And what's fascinating about that is, and I love this perspective, and that took me a long time to get to this perspective. Um, when I went through what I went through 13 years ago, and I couldn't walk, it was, I actually conducted my mother's funeral from a wheelchair.
Wow.
And I remember when I first went out, it was snowy in Ohio, because in Ohio, there are 4 seasons. There is before winter, winter, after winter, and construction. Those are the only seasons in Ohio. We have lots of snow in Ohio. Okay.
Wow.
But I went to a coffee shop. I do a lot of work in coffee shops. So I went to a coffee shop and I got my wheelchair out and it was snowy. And I went to push the wheels on my wheelchair. And all I did was I spun wheels on the ice and I didn't
Mm.
go anywhere.
Mm.
Well, I had never done that before. I didn't understand how to run this wheelchair. Nobody gave me snow tires for my wheelchair.
Yeah. It's not available
I'm
too.
I'm sliding all over the place. And this man, Don Callahan, who I had known from the community, comes running out of the coffee shop and he says, I got you, Rich. I've got you, Rich.
Mm.
And that allowed me to say, that's okay. Don's got me. I
True.
couldn't help myself, but he was willing to come out in the cold and help me. And there was no way that I was going to not let him do that because that was something that was meaningful to him.
Yes,
That
exactly.
blessing, and that's what I learned from Keith. I've known Keith for 48 years, since we were 5 years old. We've been extremely close. And when I think about what he said that brought me into his house, he said something as equally profound at the end when I was ready to move out. He said, I told him, I said, I'll never be able to pay you back. I'll never be able to repay you for what you've done and what your family has done. And he said, I said, I'll never be able to say thank you enough. And his answer was, you're welcome. And it was
Oh,
a privilege to watch you heal. Mind blown,
mind blowing.
right?
True. That's true.
Those are the kind of people that when we allow people to serve us in exchange as we serve others, that's how God's economy works. That's what gives us the privilege of that kind of blessing. And it's amazing. It really is amazing. And those are the people that will help you get up when all you want to do is give up.
Yeah. So we need each other. We can't do it on our own.
Right.
In order for us to not give up, we need to ask help too. We need to be open to whatever resources is available for us.
Mm.
I mean, well, I think if I was not brave enough to admit that I needed help with what's going on with my life. Like, it's like I was just gonna get crazy. Something's not working. And if I don't, that's when I started, paying for seminars, going to seminars or conferences, buying a program, because I know there's always a way. I know there's always a way. And whatever is that, I'm gonna do everything to find a solution for my problem because I'm never stuck. There's always something out there that can help me.
Yeah.
So that's just, I think, it's just to be humble enough to accept that I can't do this on my own. I need help.
One thing that you remind me of, Jeanith, is when you say that, to be humble enough is also to say, I need to be willing to learn. I
Yeah,
need to grow in my understanding of myself.
true.
Maxwell says it all the time. Who's the hardest person to lead? Me.
True.
I am the hardest person to lead. But when we choose to be curious, now some
Mm.
people would say I'm nosy. So if you want to call me nosy, that's okay. I call it being curious. And I will tell you, the greatest conversations that I have ever had is because I allow my curiosity to ask questions. My
True.
entire doctoral program, I learned everything. The most important thing I learned on the first day of my doctoral program, and that is if you want to have better answers, learn how to ask better questions. If you want okay answers, ask okay questions. But if you want great answers, if you want life-changing answers, learn how to ask life-changing questions.
Yeah,
Change your life.
I've learned this from Tony Robbins. I'm a great fan, although not everything that he says I follow, but I'm a great fan.
Mhm.
He says, the quality of your life determines and the quality of the questions you ask.
Absolutely.
And that's where I started learning how to ask questions.
Hmm.
Like, I don't like, if there's problems, I always like, okay, there's a problem. What then? What am I gonna do? What can we do to make it better? So I usually just like, I usually just jump to the solution rather than be stuck and be sad and be depressed and frustrated and complain and all that stuff.
That
And
sounds like
move
you've been there a
forward.
time or two.
I know, right? Because it's a cycle, it's a pattern.
Yeah.
Once we get into this pattern of like, here's a problem. Okay, let's complain. Let's be depressed. Let's be frustrated. Let's be disappointed. There's nothing gonna happen in there. No, I always have to move forward. So what can I do?
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
and
working.
you know what? And there's nothing wrong with those steps.
Yeah.
I think the way we grow is not to eliminate those steps, but how to use those steps more effectively. How do I
Yeah.
get through frustration quicker? How do I get to my questions quicker? How do I get to my answers quicker?
Yeah.
I think you said
Exactly.
at the beginning, let me share this about what you said at the beginning.
Okay.
You had talked about the idea of when we go through difficult things. I think there is a challenge, and I'm only speaking from my faith perspective,
Yeah.
but I think anybody that has a faith perspective, I think oftentimes we get the misnomer that it's not right or not okay or inappropriate to ask questions. And yet, I always tell people that when we ask a question, whether it's to God or to your higher power or whatever faith that you have, when you ask questions, what happens? You get answers.
True.
And from a Christian perspective, that's my faith background, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ, a follower of Jesus Christ. I have this fear that there's so many people in the church that feel like God doesn't want to have our questions, like we're insulting him. And I tell people all the time that God's shoulders are wide enough to
Yeah.
handle my questions. And if
Yeah.
I ask him questions, that gives him an opportunity to give me an answer.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I ask God Jesus questions every day, either
Mhm.
with my car problem, either with problem with my roof, or problem with my laptop, problem with my cell phone. I just ask him anything. And some people will be like, "Oh, he's so corny," or whatever they'll say. Like, but yeah, he answers.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yep. Yeah. And that's because there is no doubt in my mind that there is not a single being who cares about me more than my
That's
creator.
that's true. That's true.
That's people used to say to me all the time as a chaplain.
Mm.
I would be going through I saw some of the ugliest things that no human should ever have to see. And people would say to me all the time, Rich, I don't understand how you can do what you do. And I tell people, when we are made, we have a uniqueness to do certain things certain ways that other people can't. I mean, I have a friend, a college friend, who is an attorney. He's actually a magistrate in Columbus, Ohio. And we had coffee one time. And
Mm.
at that time, he was sitting in a cubicle writing appeals on a computer for 40 hours a week and eating peanut butter sandwiches. That was his life.
Oh, wow.
I was late to our coffee meeting because I had a suicide. And I was with a family who lost a loved one to suicide. And I came in after that and I walked up to him and I said, Tommy, I said, I'm sorry I'm late. I said, but I was out on a suicide call. Thanks for waiting. And he looked at me and he said, Rich, I don't get it. I don't
Mm.
get how you can do what you do, that you could go to a scene like that you could see the things that you see, that you would be able to be there with a family that it's the worst day of their life. And I said, and I don't mean to make light of that. I said, but Tommy, it would drive me nuts to sit in a cubicle and type for 40 hours on a computer and eat peanut butter sandwiches like you do. You are made different than I am.
True.
I do what I'm made to do. You do what you're made to do. And that's how God's economy works when we do that together.
That's why there is abundance.
Yes.
Because everybody can do what you can't do. And if we're just gonna help each other, then there's no lack at
Mm-hmm.
all.
Yeah. And there is no greater gift than to serve. That's the perspective. If we go back to a few minutes ago, that's the perspective I had to gain, that when it comes to allowing people to serve me, I have to think about how much of a blessing it is and the feelings I have when I serve another. And if I don't allow people to serve me when they have that chance, I'm robbing them of that feeling. I'm not allowing them to experience that joy. Because I know how good I feel when I get to do something for somebody else. Why
Yeah,
would I ever want to stand in the way of somebody else getting that feeling?
that's true. And yeah, I mean, if they offer, why not? Because you know what, Dr. Rich, not everybody has that kind of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would just say this. In the past, I didn't have that kind of mindset to serve. Let's just talk about work. I'm a nurse by profession.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, I would just go to work for money, for paycheck. And then when I change my perspective, it's no longer about money. I am there. Yes, I get paid because I get to do the things that to serve others. But really, like, serving is like offering them, like, going a distance, like, they're just there. I'm a dialysis nurse. They're just there for their dialysis. What else can I do? I can offer them comfort. I can pray for them if they would let me to. I can ask them if they want sandwich or they want crackers and peanut butter, or to assist them if they want to pee or they want to poop, stuff like that, you
Yeah.
know? And not everybody can understand that. But it's just like when I was starting to change my mindset and perspective and focus on serving more than just getting for myself, just a paycheck, I get to live with joy.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary and it's fascinating and it's so fulfilling. And not everybody understands that. But what if all of us will just have that little shift in our mindset
Sure.
and think of just going out there, serving others, using our profession to serve others and not just getting. Because you know what? Like sometimes I would just ponder and be quiet and I'll think of like how other people think. And I'll think like, what if just a little shift? Tony Robbins teaching like this 2 millimeter shift, and it's like it's just a little shift in your perspective, then you can change your life. You
Mm-hmm.
actually go to work excited and not what do you call that? Because some people will just they just came in to clock in and they're already tired. Oh, I'm so sleepy. And they're like, hey, you just woke up. Why are you
Yeah.
tired? Why are you sleepy? And then, just to like, yeah, I mean, we are here not just to gain, not just to occupy, not just to get or to acquire, but we're here to contribute.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
we have that kind of perspective, we'll never get tired. Exactly. We're never going to get tired of giving and serving.
Yeah. One of John Maxwell's mentors, influential mentors, was another leadership expert named Zig Ziglar.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Zig told John, and John's told this story a lot of times, is that when you focus on service so that you are doing everything you can to give everyone else what they need or what they want,
Mm.
they
I love
will
that.
in turn give you everything that you want. Sometimes if we get so focused on trying to earn our own way or figure out how we get what we deserve and we don't think about others, we'll miss out on that. But when we meet others' needs, it's impossible to not receive everything that you desire. It's just impossible.
I think that's just how God's economy works.
Mm-hmm.
We don't give just for us to receive, but that's just how it is. I mean, what is this? When we give energy, we get energy back. I
Yeah.
mean, when we serve, when we give, like, I'm just thinking about this. Okay, like I pick up so many hours, so I get paid more. And why is that so? Because I give. I give my time. I
Mm-hmm.
serve. So I get paid more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a matter of understanding value. Let me tell you a story about yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I Several have asked me today, how was Easter? And I'm a very solo kind of guy, right? I don't have children. I was an only child, only grandchild. My immediate family is all deceased. I don't, I don't have family per se. I have the Maxwell family
Mm-hmm.
and I have the Kiwanis family, which is another organization I'm part of. And I went into yesterday with a different perspective. I woke up thinking one way, and then I spent 18 hours having my attitude changed.
Wow.
It's fantastic
Oh, what is it?
because I woke up. I woke up thinking that it's a special day for me. I told you it was the 20th anniversary of my ordination.
Yes.
Special day. Nobody cares about me.
Okay.
I've never served a church long enough that anybody would think about it. I've served multiple churches. I've served multiple ministries. Nobody would even know it if I didn't say something about it. So I get up and I'm thinking, well, this is a special day for me. I wonder how I could think about celebrating that and think about focusing on me and what's happened the last 20 years in my life and blah, blah, blah. And my first conversation was with a new Maxwell, I'll call her a Maxwell sister
Mm-hmm.
in Dubai.
Yeah.
She says to me, she says, what do you do? It was 4 o'clock in the morning. She says, what are you doing up? Because they're 8 hours ahead. So it was noon there. And she says, what are you doing up? Happy Easter, by the way. What are you doing up? And I said, well, I'm awake to talk with you. And I said, because I have something we need to have a meeting about. And so we're having brunch Wednesday. Brunch means I'm eating a very early breakfast and she's eating a very late lunch, but we're doing it on Zoom. And I said, I have something we have to talk about for your project. And I decided at that point that my day started off with her in my world. And my world was better because she was in it that morning. And then I went to church. At the church where my friends who gave me their home for 3.5 months were their
Mm.
leaders. And I heard an amazing message and saw some amazing people. And then I went to lunch and I saw a server I had conducted her wedding.
Mm.
And by the end of the day, I had spent 18 hours not being inspired by what somebody said to me and not being inspired by what somebody did for me or with me or in spite of me. That happens sometimes too. But I was inspired because those people were part of my day and they matter to me and they're valuable. I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt forgiven. I felt loved. I felt all these amazing things. And it was a list of like 15 or 20 people that I put in a Facebook post last night, the people that I interacted with yesterday. And I thought, man, it could be so cool if we would stop trying to come up with the things that people accomplish as a way to be impressed or grateful for, and just be grateful for the fact that we have people in our lives that matter. They could do nothing, and they're still equally as valuable. And it just made a whole different perspective on the resurrection yesterday and what it meant to follow Jesus. Because I believe that everybody was equally important to Jesus, just like I felt that way yesterday. It was great.
So true. Wow. I'm glad to hear that. And I know that yesterday was also profound to you because, that was your anniversary. And come to think of it, like, what if, we just go out there and just let people feel that they
Mm.
are seen and that we hear them and that we care.
Yeah.
Just a simple smile would
Mhm.
brighten their day.
Yeah.
And that's not huge. I mean, it's
No,
doesn't even cost a thing.
no. That's
But you
what
know
everybody
what?
seems to think. They're like, oh, this is so hard. I have to. I get so tired of people who make things easy hard. It doesn't have to be. Don't overthink it. Don't make it harder than it is. Don't be somebody that you're not. Just be you and love people. And I can guarantee you, when you ask yourself the question, am I going to give up or am I going to get up? And I have that perspective that I'm just going to love and appreciate and value people for who they are and where they are, not because of what they are to me, or not because they did something nice for me or they're doing something nice for their community. None of that matters. That's all great stuff on top of it. But every single person matters just because they do. And our world would be so different, so better if we would just allow ourselves to love in that way.
That's
We would
true.
never want to give up. Everybody would want to get up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Because just because of your presence alone is already valuable. Just being there.
Yeah.
Just being there. You don't have to do a thing.
No. No.
And yeah, if we just have that kind of mindset, that
Mhm.
you are right. You don't have to be somebody that you're not. You
No.
don't have to make an effort. You just be there. Smile if you can.
I'll tell you, there's another man that has been part of the inspiration behind this talk. Um, and you may know him. A lot of people don't know him by name, but as soon as I describe them or describe him, everybody knows who I'm talking about. Man's name is Nick Vujicic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If those who are listening now or later do not know who Nick Vujicic is, he is an inspirational speaker. He has no arms. He has no legs. He has one little tiny foot, and he wobbles around just being real and changing the world. Now, Nick was involved with our Maxwell Leadership Program early on. I've never met Nick in person. I can't wait until I do. Um, but Nick told a story in the midst of me going through what I went through. And if I haven't said it, the bone infection last fall led to a partial amputation. Nothing like Nick, but I lost part of my left foot. And I had decided that I didn't want that to be something that caused people to feel uncomfortable. I mean, it's not anywhere to the extent of Nick. I have my arms. I have what I call my foot and a half left. Uh, but Nick said in one of his speeches, he said, "Do I believe that God can give me arms and legs? Yes. Will God give me arms and legs? I don't know." He said, "But I keep a pair of shoes in the bottom of my closet in case he does." And I thought, wow, what a statement of faith.
Right?
But then he says, but here's the catch. If God doesn't give me my miracle that I'm asking for, that will in no way prevent me from being someone else's miracle.
Wow.
When I say that, I get chills every time. But that came to me in the midst of me going through an amputation and making that decision. Am I going to give up or am I going to get up? Nick's telling me to get up. Nick's telling me that, whether I have great arms and great legs and great feet, or if I have none of that, or if I have some of it, I can still make someone else's life better by being their miracle. And as a result, if I have that chance, I'm going to get up. I'm going to get up every time because it's not about me. It's about everybody else.
That's true. And thank you for doing that. I mean, what a shame. Like, I've met no, I've watched him because in person in this event. What is this event? I forgot. Like, I think it was last year. He came here in Nashville, so I get
Mm-hmm.
to see him. And I think I've been following Nick since I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Is very inspirational. Like, he would just remind me that if he can do it, like, if Nick is not giving up on making a difference to the world, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I have everything that I need. I don't have any excuses. So I'm just gonna get up every time
Get
too,
up. Yeah.
just like you.
Well,
I
and I'll tell you this too, and those who know me well are aware of this. This isn't out yet. It's not coming out. I don't exactly know when, but since you are a podcaster, I have said the whole way I wanted people to kind of giggle and be lighthearted about the fact that I lost part of my foot. And so I would tell people when you get knocked down, you got to get back on your feet.
mm,
But I don't have two whole feet to get back on. So I'm working hard on getting on my foot and a half. That's what I'm
yes.
doing. And a business partner and I, we sat down one day and he said, we should be able to do something with that. And I said, a foot and a half is 18 inches. Well, there's a statement that says the longest distance that any of us take is the 18 inches from our head to our
You're
heart.
hard.
And
Exactly.
so sometime later this year, I've never done this, so I don't know exactly how it's going to happen, but we're working on it. We're going to launch the Foot and a Half podcast.
Oh, that's so exciting.
And the theme is going to be what can we gain from what we lose? And talk about anything that we could come up with about the difference between our intellectual understanding and our emotional understanding. And so I'm very excited. I hated every second that I had to go through what I went through last fall. Hated it. 5 months. Don't ever want to go through it again. But I can tell you at this point, I love every minute of it because it's going to change lives.
For sure. I know, like, it's actually our story is important to be heard. It's
Absolutely.
actually in our, you know, sometimes God is using those moments when we are on a rock bottom for others to learn from us.
Yep.
So, what you went through back then, last fall, isn't actually for you.
Yes.
It's for others to
Yes.
learn from you. And there is no reason, now that we know that, there's no reason for you to ever give up because God is using that story
Yep.
for others
Yep.
to never give up.
I have a friend in Texas that maybe some of your listeners would be aware of because he's a global speaker, Dr. Rick Rigsby, and
Mhm.
we have never met in person, but we've spoken online before, and it's always kind of funny because Rick is a large bald black man, and I'm a large bald white man. We both have the same initials. We're both RR. He goes by Dr. Rick. I go by Dr. Rich. So there's a lot of parallels. And I remember in his book about his father being a third grade dropout, he was talking
Mhm.
to a college graduate class and he talked about getting to rock bottom. And he said,
Mhm.
rock bottom, when you get there, it provides an incredibly strong foundation on which to build. And so, yeah, did I get to rock bottom? I got pretty low. I wasn't thrilled for a long time. And I've had moments like that, but the joy and the energy and the love and the future, it's endless.
Because you put your hope on Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the secret of it. Because I know that without Jesus, I think you'll just, this is enough. This is done. I'm done.
Yep.
Right? But just knowing that, he sacrificed for you to save you because he loves you,
Yep.
and you just going through that won't give you a reason to push through.
Yep. No, it's interesting because nobody has heard this. I have not shared this with anybody. So you're the first, Jeanith.
Wow. I'm
When
excited.
I went through my reflection last night about the inspiration of my day, I love acronyms, right? I love acronyms. So I put together an acronym for the word higher. I want to have a higher life.
Let me write that.
Heavenly, yeah, heavenly inspiration,
Okay. Uh-huh.
genuine hope, eternal reward.
This is fascinating.
That's the word higher. And I didn't post that.
Wow.
I haven't said it out loud to anybody. You are the first.
Heavenly inspiration, genuine hope, eternal reward.
Yep.
This is so heavenly. This is wisdom. Come on. This is what you get when you spend time with God.
Yep. This is what you get when you don't give up.
Yes, for sure.
When you
You
get
get it.
up,
You
you
get
get up to new insights. You get up
this.
to new opportunities to serve.
This is the reward of not giving up.
Yep.
Wow. Thank you so much. This is beautiful. Heavenly inspiration. Wow. Yeah. Some people don't believe in hope.
Yeah.
What's going to happen to the world without hope? We're all just going to die. We're all just going to give up.
Yep.
We can't thrive without hope.
Yeah. I don't even want to imagine it. I really don't. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't. I won't be here anymore if I didn't have hope.
No.
I would have killed myself a long time ago, I tell you that. If I didn't have hope, no way. So
Hope
wow.
is what drives us out of bed in the morning.
I'm sorry.
Hope is what drives us out of bed in the morning.
That's true.
If I'm not gonna, yeah, if I can't make somebody's life better, what's the purpose?
What's the purpose? A lot of people don't know why they're here. I just wanna share this, okay? I always have a conversation with my patients. I love talking to people. And then there was one time, there's a lot of patients I get to talk to, but there's one instance I couldn't forget. He just had his kidney because I deal with I work with dialysis, so I get to dialyze this person because the kidney is still sleeping, so I get to dialyze him.
Mm,
And then I said, "Oh, congratulations! How long have you been waiting for this?" He said, "Like 7 years." It's like, wow. Isn't it like just it's this is more than like winning a lottery. This is life.
yeah.
So yeah, I totally agree. And then I said, so God must have something for you to do. Why He's giving you this chance to live your life again without
Mm,
having to do or go to the dialysis center every 3 times a week. And then he said, "Yeah, but I don't know what it is." And I was just sad because there's just a lot of people out there. who couldn't figure out why they're still here.
Mhm.
And then he continued, maybe it's because of my grandchildren, so I can spend more time with them. And I agreed. And I said, maybe there's something else more than that, more than ourselves. And then he continued, yeah, that's one thing I'm going to figure out. And then I encouraged him, I prayed for him. And, you know, every day, every time I get out there, I can't do anything like, I mean, I can do this to inspire others, but I always use my platform, my
Mhm.
social media platform, to remind people and to just, you know, give them this alignment to realign themselves on what on earth they're really here for, because
Mhm.
we are too distracted. We live in this world, and the enemy is always telling us that what matters is just the acquiring of stuff. What matters is just fame, money, but it is not.
No.
What matters is our purpose. So just be here to serve others, to please God and serve others.
No.
And so if we can just spread that message to everyone, what a wonderful life, what a wonderful world it could be.
You know, we had a speaker at the Maxwell conference in March
Hmm.
who said that if you take on one hand the amount of money you have, and you take on the other hand the amount of things that you've accomplished in service of others, if you put them together, and let's say you had $1, but you did a lot of service, and somehow those are multiplied, it's exponential how
It
much
is.
good. But if you had $1 million and you never had served, what's a million times zero? Zero.
It's nothing.
It's the opportunity to make a difference. There's nothing wrong with having a lot of money. I
No.
wouldn't mind having a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
More than I have.
for
I'm okay with
sure.
that.
Yes.
But what do you do with what you have? You know, I don't know if you know this story or not, and I don't know exactly how long you've been part of John's team, but and I don't know if John would ever see this, but in case he does, John Maxwell, I want you to hear this. There is somebody in one particular area that is more inspirational to me than you, John, and that's your dad, Melvin.
Oh,
And the reason I say that is because Melvin died shortly after I joined John's team in 2020.
wow. Wow.
And he was late 90s, may have even been 98 or 99. But John told a story about his father, Melvin, that when he was in his mid 90s, he told John, son, I think my best years are yet to come.
I've heard of that.
And I was blown away because he's, John could be a father to me. John just turned 78 in February, and I'm
Yeah.
53, so he's 25 years older than I am. So John could be my dad. But here's somebody that could be my grandfather in his 90s, almost twice as old as I am, saying his best years are yet to come. When we can have that kind of perspective when it comes to serving others and making a difference and valuing people, it doesn't get any better than that, Jeanith.
It
It
doesn't.
really doesn't.
It doesn't. That's true. Wow. I love that. I actually like heard that story while I was there
Mm-hmm.
back in 2023, and that also hit me to my core.
Yeah.
Like, how could a 90-year-old say that his best year is yet to come? So which means it's just gonna get better and better until he goes to heaven, until his life is over.
We have a new team member, and I think actually, I hate to say this, I think she just passed. But we had a 90-something-year-old get certified in March at the Maxwell conference.
I saw that in the group. Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah, wow.
Just don't give up. Don't ever give up. Always get up.
Yeah, I mean, you retired your job, it doesn't mean that your life is over. You
Yeah.
can still do something else.
Yep.
You can still make an impact to the world. I mean,
I,
there's a lot of work to be done.
I tell people all the time, I said, I sold a business that was over 80 years old that my grandfather started in the 1940s. That was the accounting and tax part of my world.
Mhm.
I'm finishing up a few clients. This is my 40th tax season of doing income tax. And people look at me and they're like, "You're out of your mind." But it's true. That's what my grandfather was. My grandfather's only grandchild, and that's what we did. That's what I did. Grew up doing income tax. And people thought I was retiring because I sold that business.
Yeah.
And I say to people all the time, I will expire before I retire because
It's true.
I will never give up when it comes to making a difference in people's lives.
That's true. You know what? Like sometimes we just get stuck on our own problems. Like, you were hospitalized, you went through struggles, and everybody, I mean, no one's exempted of that.
No,
But if we can actually just get off our head and remember that this world is not all about us, and then somebody's waiting for us to make a difference in their lives,
yeah,
and we can overcome anything, anything,
yeah, yeah.
pretty much.
It's a great perspective.
Yeah,
It's a great perspective. I mean, there are things that I can do that you can't. There's things you can do I can't. Let's let's not just say that there together we can do great things. I say let's do great things.
true.
Why just dream? Why just imagine?
When you can
Let's
do,
go do.
let's go do.
Yeah,
Because, we always have to go back to faith without action is dead.
yeah. But let me show you my faith by what I do.
All right.
Maybe
That's
a lot of
true.
wisdom about that.
A lot of wisdom about that. Thank you
Yeah,
so much. Wow. I know you have a lot of things to do. We can talk for hours,
yeah.
Dr. Rich. We're gonna let you go. Anything that you can say, words of wisdom. And, where can people find you?
Oh,
Um,
sure.
how we can support you? You know, um, what do you offer? Like anything, tell us all about it.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking that.
Yes.
The reason I sold the business that I did was because in 2020 I was making an intentional pivot. At the age of 48, when I heard John say these words, he said, "Once you have tasted of significance, success no longer satisfies."
Wow.
And I realized that, yes, I have done significant things in my past, but it was time for me to be intentional about taking 20 years as a professor, 30 years as a minister, 40 years in the business world simultaneously, and the education and the things that I've learned throughout my life, and putting them into an intentional pay it forward to help others experience and grow in their significance. And so uh, the easiest way to get a hold of me is you can go to richrader.com, RICHRADER.com. That takes you to a link tree that has all the stuff that I get involved in. Um, my company's name is Greystone Professional Solutions Incorporated, which we call it GPS
Mhm.
because the mantra is I am providing a clear map to your significance. And so you can go to mygpsinc.com and you can find things there, whether or not we're improving through coaching, um, through speaking. I love speaking. I'm a preacher, so it's hard to shut me up sometimes. Or doing training. I mean, being a college professor, I love to teach groups as well. Now, I will tell you that it's pretty rare for me to do something by myself. I
Mm-hmm.
believe that significance comes through partnership. John would say one is too small of a number to do anything
Mm-hmm.
significant. And so
True.
I work, I consider what you and I are doing right now, we're in partnership, you and I.
Of course.
We're putting this out. So much of the projects that I'm working on right now, there's at least one or more partners that we're all, some of them are Maxwell folks, some of them are not. We're just trying to figure out how can we work together in God's economy to change lives and impact people. So yeah, richrader.com. Every social media, you can find me at Dr. Rich Rader. So at DrRichrader. And find me on social media, find me on the web, and let me know how. And I'll travel anywhere. I love to travel. So I'm headed out for 3 different states at the end of this month. So um, yeah, get a hold of me and let me know how I can add value to you, and we'll find some partners, and I would love to come and see you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing where we can find you because we would like to, like get to know more and learn more about what you can offer. So, yeah, what can you say about, just closing wisdom that we can leave to our audience?
Sure. I want to encourage you to understand that life, leadership, good experiences, blessings, they don't just happen by chance. John has a book called Intentional Living. And I want to challenge whoever sees this, and I'm challenging myself with this every single day. And Jeanith, I'll challenge you with it as well, because I know this
Yes,
would mean
sir.
the world to you as well. I believe that anything that's going to happen that's going to be of benefit or value or growth or getting to that higher life is only going to happen when we do it intentionally. And so we have to make the decision. Maybe it's when we wake up tomorrow morning before our feet get on the floor. Tell yourself, I am intentionally going to make decisions to add value to others and challenge myself to grow on purpose and in purpose.
Amen. Wow, that's fascinating. And I accept the challenge.
I appreciate your time. I appreciate your platform and you allowing me to add value to your audience and to those that will share in this in the days and weeks ahead.
We appreciate you more, Dr. Rich. This conversation is profound, and I'm learning so much from you. And for sure, our audience would be able to get a lot of wisdom from this conversation. Thank you for not giving up, and thank you for just saying yes to your calling.
Thank
Um,
you.
I appreciate you for that, and I have so much respect for you doing that despite of the disability and all that you've been going through. I salute you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will look forward to talking with you again.
Yes, sir, of course. I hope to see you soon. I hope to join in the next conference with together with our John Maxwell certified team.
Well, I've told everybody on the way that the August 2025 is going to be happening while my birthday is occurring. So yeah, come to Orlando and help celebrate my birthday.
Amazing. Looking forward to that. I gotta save money for that from now on.
Good.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, Dr. Rich. Y'all are a blessing to me. And thank you so much, y'all, for dropping by and spending time with us. And if you have any questions, let us know. Follow Dr. Rich Rader on his social media platforms. And yeah, don't forget to check on his website at www.richrader.com. Is it?
Yes.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. God bless. Bye for now.
Bye bye.
Bye, sir.